I agree completely. One thing that always makes me laugh is women, to me, they tell on themselves. They say, my baby daddy ain't no good. He ain't this, he ain't that. And my thing is, you telling on yourself. Why'd you pick him? You weren't raped. You chose to lay down with this man. So
Right.
obviously you didn't respect yourself and your future children enough to pick somebody of quality. You're basically calling yourself stupid when you talk about how bad this man is. Maybe you can say
Right.
that, he may not be compatible with you. Maybe he's not the right one for you. But is he really as bad as you say? And if he's doing all the stuff you say, are you doing anything to maybe trigger that?
Right. Well,
How
you start off when you say it was your baby daddy, number one.
exactly?
You know, that's no, that's start number one. And I totally agree, sis. I'm the same way because my thing is this, as women we have to give permission for a man unless it's by force. You know what I mean? You have to literally open yourself up for a man to come inside you. You know what I mean? So it's like, I always ask, I'm like, so when did he become no good? Like after you slept with him, like after you did this, then all of a sudden he became no good? Like, if you don't set requirements before sex, it's just unrealistic to try to set some afterwards because what's the point? He already got it, so now you want him to, exercise discipline after he got something he didn't have to be disciplined to get. So I completely agree.
Exactly. Sometimes these women get pregnant by somebody who already has 2 and 3 children, may not be taking care of them, and they think, "Oh, I'm gonna be different." No, you're not. I mean, that some of that responsibility has got to be on us, I think, and even as far as calling fathers deadbeats, sometimes we keep men away from their children. Sometimes we talk badly to the children about the man where they don't want to see the man. I mean, it's so many things, and a child isn't a paycheck. I mean,
Right.
do you have any thoughts on that about how we sometimes sabotage our own situations?
Oh, yes, ma'am. And, my thing is this, sometimes we look at men for potential, not potential to be husbands, but, they're like step one in our retirement plan. Sometimes we kind of barter our wounds, for child support sometimes.
Hmm.
And sometimes, we'll take a brother to court for child support and we'll even give him a chance, to try to do right by his child. And my thing is, I try to investigate everything that's told to me. And I know plenty of brothers that I know personally that may have been labeled a certain way, but I know that they're fighting their mothers, to see their children. And, their mothers harboring on to bitterness because either their relationship ended or their, marriage ended. So now their children have become pawns. Oh, you didn't want me, so I make you pay. You didn't want me, so you won't see your child. I work at a school, and there is this sister, and her daughter was getting her eyes and ears examined by the nurse. And I listened to her tell her girlfriend how she spent her child support money on like getting her hair done and getting her clothes and whatever. And so the little girl couldn't start school because she didn't have a uniform. And so the little girl asked her, well, why don't I have a uniform? She was like, because you're trifling, Daddy didn't send you any money. And I was like, did you just lie to her? I'm like, because I just sat here and listened to you tell your friend how you spent the child support. I thought I was ready to get fired that day. I was like, there's no way I'm going to, I just sat up here and listened to you. And then you're going to tell your daughter? And I'm like, how many lies have come before that? You know what I mean? To where you're trying to paint your child's father as a monster when the monster is really you. You know what I mean? All because your relationship didn't work out or you try to, build a foundation on your back or, you try to, garnish a marriage proposal by having sex or whatever the reason. We have to learn how to separate how we feel about each other as adults and what's best for the children because there are so many children being used as pawns that don't get to see their fathers because they have a bitter mama.
Definitely. But if you tried to tell that same woman that she was wrong, you would never get her to see that in a million years. Why do you think that we become so hypersensitive that even when we are so trifling, we feel like we can't do anything wrong?
I think it's because, there's a certain level of arrogance and also there world enables women a lot. You know, in this world, you can have, you know, numerous babies out of wedlock. You can go down to a state office and you will be encouraged to continue to have some more. You know what I mean? Like there's no, you don't really have any consequences per se. So, you know, it's kind of like it enables women to feel that they are the victim. And because we as women, like, we don't even check each other. You know, like, somebody could tell us that their man did them wrong and we ready to go slash tires, you know. But we're not even going to ask our sister, like, okay, well, what's the situation? Because we already on that all men aren't bleep or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like we enable each other, you know. Black women talk a lot about how black men are coddled, but we coddle one another, actually. Like, we are on standby. You know, we read our children, black men ain't, you know, stories, you know what I mean? So it's like, we really enable this behavior with one another because as women, we don't check each other. And because the black man has been casted in such a negative light for so long, you know, we have become like everybody else. We blame it on the black man. You know, somebody got shot, whatever. Oh, the black guy did it. Somebody, you know, the black guy did it. Oh, I was done wrong, the black guy did it. You know what I mean? So it's hard for us for some reason to look at ourselves and be like, okay, well, I am responsible for my choice. You know, it's like sisters want brothers to take 100% accountability for everything that happened in their womb. I'm like, that's your womb. Like, you control who goes in and out of there. So how is everything on him when you had an extended invitation? And that's, you know, for some reason, we just don't think like that. Well, like I said, you know, you have propaganda that puts black men in the worst light ever, and like those movies and books that are so popular, it's because black women are out there purchasing it. You know, we're buying tickets, we're doing this, you know, we're making all these people rich. You know, you don't even realize how they're playing off our emotions and the self-hatred that we really have for ourselves, which in turn, you know, channels to him, because if we don't love ourselves, we don't know how to love him. So everybody is profited off us as black women, and the destruction of the black family continues. And we keep saying, oh, black men have to do this, have to do this. I'm like, well, what if all black men got all their stuff together, but they come back to the same old black woman? You know what I mean? So how is that fair? You want a new black man, but you feel like you don't have to make any changes either? Like, I just feel like that's hypocritical and that's unrealistic.
I think so too. And you said something interesting a little while ago. I like the way you put it. You said that sometimes we barter our wombs. And I think that a lot of people do that. And I've noticed two things with a certain class of women. Number one would be either looking down on black men who we don't deem as successful or quote unquote educated as us. And that generally will make us do the second thing, which is turn to white men, which blows my mind because of just the history. I mean, goodness gracious.
Right.
What do you think about that situation?
Yes, you know, we're quick to judge a man by his wallet, you know, instead of his character. And, pardon me, if his job isn't something, you know, that we feel like, you know, he's successful, whatever, then, you know, we'll walk on by him. And I think one of the most beautiful things to invest in as a black man and as a black woman is the potential that you see. You know what I mean? Because I think that it's beautiful when you see potential in someone and you help them achieve their greatness. You know, and I think that when you have a relationship like that, when you all build together because you seeing the best in him and he sees the best in you, I think that can make such a beautiful, strong bond. But again, we're conditioned to look for ballers, you know, things of that nature. So if a brother looking like he don't got it, then we got to keep it moving. And the thing about that is that, you know, I have to ask women, like, what makes you successful? Like, what makes you think you're a good catch? Because my thing is, if you're such this, and this, then why are all these men supposedly, you know, walking past you? And sisters would think, some of us think that if we have a job, or if we drive a certain type of car, if we have something, then we are successful. And I'm like, you might be successful in that area, but if your relationship, are always falling apart, then that says something about yourself, because at the end of the day, in all your failed relationships, you are the common denominator. There's nobody else but you. So if there's a history and there's a pattern, then you have to start looking at yourself. But we look at men for the wrong things. We look at, how much money they have, and not to say that, financial, stability shouldn't be a factor, but it shouldn't be the only factor.
I agree. What do you think about these women who are saying, black men, they don't treat me right. I already know they ain't going to do right. So I'm going to just go on and find me a white man because I know he's going to take care of me. I've heard the women with natural hair say, brothers don't like my natural hair, but this white boy, he says he likes my afro. So I'm going to go ahead and get me they don't say crack, a white man.
Mm-hmm. Well, my thing is like, you do that. You think that that's where you gonna find you be his exotic fantasy if you want to. And my thing is like, if you feel like there's no good black men that exist, then why do you keep looking? Because you're searching for that you don't even believe in. So, if you feel like you have to step outside, yourself and him, and you think that you can find happiness and you don't know what this man is really calling you inside his mind, then okay, you go do that. I mean, when I hear things like that, I'm just like, I feel like on both sides, to give up on a black man is to give up on yourself. If to give up on a black woman is to give up on yourself, and just to put all men in a box based on the men that you chose, I think that's unfair. And we don't like that done to us. We don't like to be placed in a category. Like, if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't want to have to pay for somebody else's mistakes. I'll pay for mine, but not somebody else's. And that's what we do. Like, we make every black man, pay for it to hurt another black woman causes. But sometimes we don't even think that some of the pain could be self-inflicted, but I hear, and I read, a lot about promoting, like, going outside. And I'm like, if that's what you want to do and you think that, how you want to make it better, just based on history, that's something I have never, ever thought of, desired, and just to hear that, like I said, when you give up on a black man, basically you're just giving up on yourself.
That's very, very true. I agree. I was actually, I do weird stuff in my spare time when I get bored. Like, I'll go to white survivalist forums. I think that those are interesting. But every now and then I'll go to like Stormfront or one of these racist skinhead sites, and just to see what they're talking about. And I was on there a couple weeks ago and saw a post by a white man talking about white men who like black women. And the things that they were calling us she-boons, which I guess was like a female baboon or something like that. They were talking about how ugly we are, how disgraceful we are. A couple of them were saying, well, I kind of feel sorry for black women because they have to put up with black men. So, it's no wonder why they would come to us. And it was just so much craziness. And I'm sorry, but I can't believe that a liberal white person really thinks that much differently.
Right.
You're probably still his pet monkey from his perspective. They're into bestiality. They don't mind. But, they're not looking at you. I can't imagine somebody thinking that a white man is going to look at you and view you the way a black man would, or even better. They act like these white men are better, like they can offer them something, like they can love them better and understand them better, when they're calling them the N-word behind their back half the time. I don't understand it.
Right.
Now,
well, it's that white savior syndrome. You know what I mean? We're always looking for white folks to save us. So I guess when you get down and you feel like you hit relationship rock bottom, then you gotta look for your white Jesus.